All right. If you're new to online courses, or if you're new to the way we do online courses, I just wanted to give you a quick orientation to the Canvas site for this course, and also a little bit of an orientation towards the course itself and the pieces that make it work. We'll start with the syllabus real quick, although it's a bit of a brief syllabus, and it's a lot of it is stuff that you're probably familiar with in a broad sense. I've already talked a little bit about what the course is about, so I'll pass over some of that. There is no official textbook for the course. There are some bits and pieces that you might want to acquire, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that in an announcement and other things later on in the semester if you want to play with building your own IoT device. That is not required, it's optional, but it's the only thing you would need to kind of buy if you were going to buy something beyond that. All of the readings for the course are in Google Docs, so that they are all accessible through your regular ASU account. Through ASU, you have a Google Docs account. I have for a long time done side notes on Google Docs as part of discussion, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. Standard things about accessing the course. If you have questions about the course, contact me. If you have questions about the technologies, you can talk to ASU Online. There's a technical contact. But generally speaking, if it's anything having to do with the technical content of the course, of what we're doing, they're not going to be able to help you as much as I am. So just get in touch with me as the instructor. My contact information is there via email. That's the major way that you would contact me. I don't have sort of set office hours this semester. I do have a link here to Calendly where you can set up an appointment that's mutually convenient in terms of timing if you need to talk with me. But I will try to get back to you, as I say here, within 4 business hours for email. I do try to block off my weekends, which is hard since we have a deadline. But even though I don't have the promise of the 4 hours during the weekend, depending on what's going on, I will be checking my email, and I'll try to get back to you if I can over the weekends as well. Let's see. Okay, so the question that people usually have is, how do I get a grade in this course? This is a little weird for me, but not weird for other people, in that the grades, if you've taken other courses with me, you know that I tend to mess a little bit with the traditional grading system. Here you can get between 0 and 100 points, and that pretty much racks up against the standard for ASU in terms of how the number of points translate into a letter grade. The work that you're doing in the course and that you're being evaluated on, as I noted in the introduction to the course, is largely about that continually asking the question of what if. We're kind of engaged in design fictions here, and so as you're doing the readings, as you're listening to the lectures, you should be thinking about kind of, how does this help me to think about our major project, which is this idea of a sort of a time capsule, if you did this as a kid at some point, they had you put a whole bunch of documents in a time capsule, today's newspaper, a bunch of other things that are reflective of the time. So we're going to be making one of those, but it's not for today, it's for the year 2040. So we're trying to do a future time capsule by creating these fictional documents. That is your final project in the course. That is a good chunk of your overall grade, about a third of your grade, a little more than that actually. And so you should be kind of moving towards that throughout the semester. More broadly, each week I'm going to ask you to comment a minimum of, I think I have 10 comments. I have that as kind of an arbitrary amount here. My hope is that you'll do as much as possible. Now that can be something as simple as, I don't understand this, but the ideal, and if you look at the assignment for these, you'll see that the ideal is that you're tying it towards your existing knowledge or for other things that you've learned. And so making connections is kind of why we're commenting on this and discussing it and engaging in discussions with your classmates. You have some brilliant classmates, and it gives you an opportunity to do that. Each week I'll also ask you to do kind of a short version of the final document, where you do a shorter scenario or document that is a design fiction. And the idea here is both to get you in the practice of thinking about these things and constructing them, and also doing something that you might be able to elaborate into a larger document at the end of the semester. So that's pretty much what it is. We have those weekly scenarios that are due every Sunday night at midnight. There is, as I've done in the past, a 2-day grace period for that, and all of your comments for the week are due on that Sunday night. Ideally, it would be great if you got them in before the deadline. I'm just going to say that because it gives you a chance to kind of see what other people are saying or interact with them, or break it up and do them a little bit as you're doing the readings, instead of doing all the readings Sunday night as quickly as possible and not being able to think about it. Block off some time on a Monday, a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Friday, a few times through the week to do a chunk of the reading and engage in it and comment on it. My own lectures this semester, although I do have some that are like this, where I talk to you, and some introductions, are mostly in that text. I'm actually putting together something that is the very first free writing of what might become something that's a written work, a book, or a small book, or manifesto or something like that. And so my hope is that you'll read it and that you'll be critical of it, because that'll help me. I will put that out as a warning that it is very much a drafty piece of work. So it is straight from the pen. I don't have a pen, but straight from the keyboard. And so my hopes is that you'll say, this is stupid. No, that's not my hope. My hope is that if you see something that is not clear that you will comment on it and that you say something a little more elucidating than "this is stupid." But if there's something that's unclear, I really hope you'll say "this is unclear." And if there's something that you say, "Oh, well, this is an interesting idea, but what about?" That's very helpful to me as well as to you, which is kind of the point here. Each week we have a Sunday deadline. That doesn't mean you have to get it in on Sunday. You can absolutely get it in on Friday or Thursday. You don't have to do things at the deadline. You can do it ahead of the deadline. If for some reason you miss the deadline, you do have a 48-hour period where it's fine. You can still get it in and still get the 2 points bonus for each week for getting things in on time. If you don't get it in on time, you should still submit it, but you won't get that 2-point bonus. The only deadline that is a hard and fast deadline is, I think we have a calendar up here at the top, is on the 24th of June, which is the deadline for the semester. And since I have to turn the grades around right after that, you really do need to get it in on that Friday. So pay attention to that one. There is no grace period. Anything after that will not count to your grade because the grade will already have been submitted at that point. Okay, so I think that roughly runs through the assignments. What is it that you'd actually be doing? If you look here, when you come to the homepage, you'll kind of get some announcements. There aren't any up there right now, but then you'll see the modules. This is the module that you're looking at now. And then each of the modules is roughly the same thing. You'll have a set of lectures and readings. This is actually missing some of the intro readings there that I still need to upload for this. But generally, there's going to be a quick overview either in text or in video like this. And then a set of readings that you'll kind of go through and make comments on. If you click on these, you'll see that they will open up in Google Docs. And anywhere along here, if you say, if you wanted to make a comment, you just highlight what it is you want to comment on. You hit this, and you can add a comment right over here and hit submit. And so the idea is that over time, we'll have a set of comments over here that reflect your feedback and discussion around the readings for the course. And that is pretty much it. You see that this is all the content we have here, including some optional stuff, which you're welcome to engage with or not each week. And we will have then this assignment, which is for a scenario, which is a design fiction, is pretty much the same thing each week, all the way till the end, although the last one is a little bit more complicated. In that last one, I'm asking you to both create a document and then also create a discussion over what that document is. And the only difference in that last week is that the deadline for that final project, I'll note, is not at the very end. It's not at the 24th, but the week before that. So we said before that the absolute deadline here is the 24th, but the deadline for your projects will actually be the 19th. And in that last week, we'll be reading one another's projects and commenting on them. Strictly speaking, I suppose it could be the 21st with the extension. I really would encourage you to get those in on the 19th, though, so that you get good feedback, because you can actually resubmit some of those a revision of that on Friday. So if you get it in, hopefully people will be able to have a chance to comment on it, and then you'll get some feedback that you can use. I will comment on it as well, of course, but you'll get some comments you can use if you want to do a revision. The revision is optional, but it gives you a chance to kind of improve it slightly if you want to. I think that's pretty much it. It's a pretty straightforward course. If you have any questions, of course, simply ask, and I'm happy to reply. There is going to be a general discussion board as well. If you have questions, you can ask them there, and that's probably the best place to ask questions that are relevant to the whole class, because then I don't answer the same question 35 times. And if you're the 35th person to ask that question, then my answer will be not as polite as I generally am, and that will be no fault of your own. So just ask the questions publicly, and then everyone can see the answer. If you have the question, there's a very good chance someone else in the course does as well. All right, thanks very much.